All right. Obsessed with this woman. Rachel Uchitel is here. I mean, Rachel, I guess, are you most famous for all of your tabloid days? I guess so, right? I mean, now you're a famous podcaster.
I mean, unfortunately, I'd like to say I'm most well known for my podcast, which hopefully that will be the case soon. But yeah, I mean, it's going to, it's something that you have to carry with you. So I think I was famous twice, though. I was famous because of a photo that was taken by the Associated Press that was on the cover of every newspaper in the world almost regarding losing my fiance on September 11th. And then a decade later, obviously being involved allegedly, or whatever you want to say, in a little bit of a sex scandal. And so I think my name tends to precede me. It's so funny because I'm on the dating apps. Okay. So, and this guy called me yesterday who, I was very excited about. And we switched from like the app to the phone. Right. And so he calls me and we're like 10 minutes to the conversation. He goes, so I have a funny story to tell you because, obviously I saw your name and I Googled you and it must be interesting being, famous like that. And then he starts rattling off this stuff. And it just, like you say, it reminds me that you can't, no matter what you want to do, what you try to do, you can't get away from it, even though it was, 15
How many years ago? Yeah, 15 years ago. I mean, does that bother you or do you feel like you just embrace it and you like don't give a shit?
Well, it's an interesting question because I just had Kathy Griffin on the other day.
Who's like an incredible comic, right? But now she'll always be known for hanging that bloody head of like Donald Trump. Like you'll never get to, right? I mean, don't you think?
Right. And was canceled for 6 years, like killed for 6 years. Like her phone didn't ring. It affected her livelihood. She was on the no-fly list. Like the government was trying to like throw her in jail, like all this crazy stuff. And she was saying how Jane Fonda had said to her, listen, that's going to go on your tombstone. It's something you have to live with. So you just gotta like be okay with it and like embrace it as opposed to like living in the anger or the shame or whatever it is for you that you feel. And, we were talking about what it feels like because everyone tends to ask her about that scenario and they overlook all the other major things that she's done in her life before or after. And, she's like, first I would get really angry about it, but then I started to realize, well, it's something that people want to ask and get off their chests and then they'll move on and then they'll get to know you as a person. And that's what we bonded about. Like that is the same thing for me, that many people have a question or two, want to ask, it's a conversation that everyone has had at some point in their life, whether it's 15 years ago, and it's still obviously anytime Thanksgiving comes up or something happens in golf, it's a topic that people talk about. So, I mean, I get it. I try not to be angry about it unless people really are disrespectful and push it, like keep asking questions that really are none of their business, So it's fine, like one question or two, but like after that, it's like, dude, that's not even who I am as a person. Like, so let's move on,
Well, it sucked for you too, because I feel like, like if it had been an incident with Charlie Sheen, like it would have blown over. But at the time, Tiger Woods had this like probably the cleanest image, ever, at least for us, right? The public that didn't know, what he was really like. So that was, I'm sure, so much. But no, I wondered too.
But that's funny you say Charlie Sheen. I mean, I feel like, don't you think Charlie had kind of a squeaky clean image for a while, with the exception that he dated some hot women, or the one woman, Brooke, who kept having some like heroin issues. That started to be where you started to hear maybe he wasn't so squeaky clean. But I always thought he was like hot and normal and interesting. And then all of a sudden it's like he lives with, what did he call them? Goddesses, and he had AIDS. I mean, or HIV positive. So you listen, you never know what's going on with someone behind the scenes. And it's a testament of how anyone who is famous or not famous is living at some point in their life, or to some extent, a life that's in smoke and mirrors a little bit.
Oh my God. I bet you've seen that so much in your career. Because you've been with, now, I mean, even beside that, you've always been great at doing high-end entertainment, right? So for nightclubs, promoters, and it sounds like, just like reading your history, like even your family, I think was it your grandfather that owned like a famous nightclub in New York City? I mean, that's kind of like in your blood. So you probably always entertained rich people. And Yeah, is that like what is the difference between like a rich person and someone that's not? Just they're better at trying to keep secrets? What's the difference?
Well, I wouldn't say that, but no, I mean, I think if you're talking about secrets, well, rich people probably hold them much more valuable because it can take down what they've built, right? So that's why secrets to them are so, that's their kryptonite, so to speak. Someone who doesn't have a lot of money really is not that much to lose, but they could have a marriage to lose or their children or whatever it is for them. So I think everyone has a different level of what they find valuable. And to them, that's what, makes a secret, invaluable or dangerous, or some people don't care at this point in my life. And for many years, I'm like an open book. I do not have any skeletons in my closet, like at all. Like I really, it's funny to me because there was a time where I'm very much a recluse. I don't have a lot of, I have friends, but I'm very close with them. I've known them for a long time. I don't trust a lot of people. Um, and I just feel like, people will try and say things about you, whether or not it's true. And then it goes in the paper. Like it's tough when you have a lot to lose. And it doesn't necessarily mean money, but your reputation, this, that, and the other.
Oh no, I bet you've had to be really guarded over the years. I mean, I just think about you. I used to love I'm sure you probably hate this, but I used to love like reading about you because you're one so beautiful. Like it was so gorgeous. Like you're
Oh,
so gorgeous. So it was really fun to read about you. And I mean, I have to imagine for years, the New York Post and New York Daily News like made so much money off you, probably stalked you everywhere you went. You know, they loved it. You are one of those people that's just gorgeous. You look like you should be on Real Housewives of New York, you know?
Carol. Thank you. Maybe they'll start a Real Housewives of Palm Beach.
Have you ever been you've never been I'm sure David's at, David Yontef, of course, you're friends with him, I'm friends with him.
Mhm.
David must have asked you that. You never were approached for Real Housewives of New York?
I was approached. Yeah. They approached me at the end of their like casting, I guess. So it was down to the final five. And they asked me to I think I had to do a Zoom call with them. And I remember I really didn't take it seriously. It was terrible. I just gotten out of the shower. Like I hadn't, curled my hair or anything. My hair was a little frizzy. I didn't have a lot of makeup on. I was in my apartment and I just thought it was to have a conversation with like the cat, whoever was on the other line, the casting person. I didn't realize they were going to film that, record it, and then like show it to the room.
Oh my
And they were asking me all sorts of questions like, who would you have the most, you know, who would you be friends with? Do you think who would you have the most like conflict with and why? And at the time, I had been on some blind dates. I had met Mario. Uh, what's her name? Ramona's
Oh,
ex-husband.
Ramona. Oh, yeah, yeah, Mario. Okay, yes, yes.
He had taken me out a couple of times. I met him on Bumble. And so I was like, well, I don't know that Ramona would like me. And also I dated Harry Dubin. So coming onto the show, having like Harry Dubin as an ex, Mario as an ex, I thought that Ramona and Sonia would have disliked me. And it's funny because I know a lot of housewives from different franchises, but I met Sonia at Harry Dubin's birthday party, like, I don't know, a month ago here in Palm Beach. And somebody went to introduce us because they thought we would have met by now. And they're like, oh, you guys know each other. And I went to shake her hand and she wouldn't shake my hand. I thought that was pretty strange and gross.
Sonia
Don't you?
wouldn't shake your hand.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't think that Sonia would take it as so personal. Really?
Yeah. I don't know what
Wow.
her problem was, but she wouldn't shake my hand. And then later, people were like, oh my God, that was so
Yeah.
cringe, like she made it seem like she was sick or something. She's like, oh, I don't want to give you germs. I hate when people do that.
I
But it
know.
was like in front of a
It's
lot of
hot.
people and people were like, that is so lame. Like, it seemed very odd. I'm not dating Harry. Harry's just a friend of mine. So it was like very weird that she would have gotten like annoyed by me being at his birthday, but whatever.
Does Harry love all the attention? I mean, that franchise, it's Real Housewives of New York plus Harry Dubin. Does he love the attention?
I think he acts like he doesn't love it, but he is so famous. Like
Everyone knows Harry Dubin.
everyone knows Harry Dubin. When we go out, which is a lot, like I don't go out a lot, but when I go out, I'll call Harry. Like tonight, I'll probably call Harry and be like, hey, I have dinner in Del Rey. And when I come back, I'll be like, hey, because I know he'll be out. and I know he'll be kind of having fun, right? So, and he's like a comfortable person for me to go hang out with. So, um, he's always surrounded by people because people think they know him, right? And then the level of attention he gets from women from in their 20s to like in their 60s
Really?
is hysterical. Yeah. Oh yeah. And they could, they could be like, you don't have to ask my name. I want to sleep with you. It's insane the attention he gets. It's so funny.
He's a nice looking guy, but he's not, I mean, he's not
He's
like,
he's like nice looking, but more than that, he's very charming.
he just has such a great personality, huh? It's like you're just
Yeah.
sucked in.
Yeah. Yeah. He has a great personality.
I'm married. I love my husband, but I really like if anything happened to my husband, I really want to like marry and bag like a rich guy. Can you give me any tips? Like I feel like you hang out with rich people, I get so see men, it's so hard for me to keep like I can't stay interested. What do you do? How do you do it? You've
Well,
dated like
I'm not interested in anyone. Nobody, it's so hard. I'm not dating anyone either. So, like, listen, I'd love to be married to a rich person too. So, I'd like some of those tips. I do know a lot of them because I happen to live in Palm Beach or New York. And, you can't trip over a poor person here because they wouldn't be able to afford lunch. It's like hard. But
yeah.
yeah, but no, listen, I Dr. Drew once gave me, I don't know if this is advice or just said this to me. He's like, 80% of people are strange or, have weird things going on, or like you got to focus on the 20%. So I think having a connection with someone is really hard. If they're very rich, they tend to have a lot of distraction because it's like a lot of women want to be with them, right? Or they think they can buy anyone they want, or they're very busy because they've been successful, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to, and a lot of them tend to be have narcissistic traits, which is what probably makes them so good at work but so bad in relationships. So, finding a rich guy maybe isn't all it's cracked up to be. I mean, it's better than finding maybe a poor guy because you got to struggle, but you could be madly in love with someone that doesn't have a lot of money and you could try and make it work. I mean, listen, it's more difficult, but it's also, I am not the type of person who, I know a lot of people like to write things about me that I'm this, this, that, and the other thing, or like I'm this whore or whatever, or this, at one point people were like, oh, is she a mistress? I mean, not a mistress, what's the word? A madam.
Oh, a
Um,
madam. Okay.
yeah, I would love to be a madam. I would love to know rich people and get set up. And like, that would be
Me
so
too.
interesting, right? I mean, remember Heidi Fleiss? She had this
Yes,
whole book of people.
I was
What an
thinking the same
interesting
thing.
person.
Oh my
But,
God.
but like the media made me out to be much more scandalous and much more interesting than I really am. It's like, I don't, yes, I know a lot of celebrities, but celebrities are just like us, honestly. They have a lot of problems. They've got a lot of insecurities. So it wasn't like it's like that much fun.
I had read, was this true that you dated Derek Jeter?
I did. Yeah.
Did you get the famous, how there was that rumor that Derek Jeter, when he broke up with women, would send them like a gift basket with signed baseballs and like just memorabilia? Did you ever get that?
No, that is
Oh,
so dumb. Women that said that are
wanted
stupid.
that. Oh,
I
that's
did leave his house one night. A girlfriend of mine was staying in the guest room with someone else famous,
oh, okay.
and she didn't want to hook up with him. So she knocked on the door and she asked me to go home, to take her home, back to my apartment. So I got dressed. We were like sleeping. I was like, uh, Derek and I were sleeping. So maybe I couldn't find my clothes. I don't really remember, but I remember that Derek gave me his shorts and like a t-shirt or something. So I just wore that home. My ex-husband has that. My ex, who I married years later, right? But he found it in my drawer. He's like, "Who's this?" I'm like, "Oh, Derek Jeter." He's like, "What?" And now he wears it.
Oh my God. I used to love that story so much. I was like, oh my gosh, what a great way to break up.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think that that is true. I don't, knowing Derek, he's not weird like that. He's the most humble, cool guy. He was never involved in any scandals because there's nothing scandalous about him. And he had a huge stack of balls in his house. If I wanted a ball for him to sign and so I could bring it to somebody, I would have asked him. I may have asked him. I don't even remember. It was a long time ago. But there's no way it's like, hey, Rach, we're ending. Tonight is our last night. Let me give you a little basket of balls, of signed balls and merch to bring home as, memorabilia. He would never have done that.
That
That's
was the
just
best
stupid.
story. That was such a good one. I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
god, what a genius thing. I should have done that." Anyway. So okay, now you have a very successful podcast. I mean, you get huge name guests. You know everyone. Rudy Giuliani's been on your show, Kathy Griffin, as you mentioned, Melissa Rivers. I mean, and of course, you're friends with Kato Kalin, who I'm obsessed with. I mean, even decades later, that story. So,
Yeah.
how do you like podcasting?
Let me tell you something. I love it. I wish I started
Mhm.
it years ago. I was really scared to do it. And no one made it easy for me. Like I would go on a lot of people's podcasts. Like I was on Jeff Lewis a couple times, Heather McDonald a couple of times. They would always say to me, you should have your own show. And but it was like, great, but how do I translate that into something tangible, right? And so it's not like I had any networks knocking at my door. And finally, I did speak to some networks and I happened to be, it's so funny from being in the nightclub business. One of the owners of one of the podcast companies, a very big one, I had his cell phone number in my phone because he was one of my clients. So I called him, I asked him about it, and he's like, listen, you will have a better time doing this if you started on your own and then you have more listeners, eyeballs, whatever you want to call it. And then you come back to a company like this because then you're more valuable. Otherwise, we just give you an offer like we give anyone else. So I was like, okay, I could do this. So I figured out kind of how to do it by asking David Yontif, by asking some other friends. Kato Kalin has a
Yeah, that's right.
co-host.
He's
Yeah,
got
he has a co-host, this guy, Tom. He was helping me a little bit. And I just started it, but I started to realize like someone was like, oh, I don't like the name. Oh, I don't like, you can't be guest driven. That will never, last. It has to be about you. And that's not what my show was. My show, it was very clear to me from day one. It took me a while to come up with my name. As soon as I came up with it, I knew that was it. Misunderstood. I think it's a universal feeling for me. It's what represents me. I have felt misunderstood for a very long time, and I think a lot of people can identify with that. And then, my show, it was originally built around the concept of people who were reduced to a single headline and they're on a mission to change their narrative. And that is what I've lived through, right? And I felt like I wanted a voice and a platform to change the narrative that was created for me based on a scandal or something that happened or something that the media put out there. And in the absence of truth, there was a story created, and I wanted to be able to have the platform to narrate my own story. And then in seeing how many other people had gone through a scandal. First it was like, here's my list of people in a scandal. But then I was like, just people that there have been stories that are written about them that I wanted to ask them questions about it. I wanted to find out what it was like for someone like Greg Louganis, who was the best diver of all time in the Olympics, still to this day, I think is known as the best diver of all time. What was that like to have done a specific dive hundreds of thousands of times to then in the Olympics hit your head on the board, be hiding that you had AIDS or that you were HIV positive and that you were gay. And you were this iconic, good-looking, virile man, and you hit your head, you die, you fall in the water, and you have blood in the pool, and you don't know what to do because no one knows any of this about you. I wanted to ask him about that, so I
yeah.
had him on the show. So then it turned into from people to topics that I think needed to be like reconsidered, so it was like, I was curious about, medically assisted suicide. It's, I think, legal in 10 states now. How does that work? How do you qualify? How do you like, why are people doing it when they take a sip at that last minute? Can they change their mind? Like, how often do they change their mind? I had all sorts of questions. This ketamine infused therapy for PTSD and depression and all this stuff, is that a real thing or are people just drug addicts? So I did a show on that. So, I book every single one of my guests myself. The first month I started my podcast, I hired a booker because I didn't think I could do it. I have 2 shows a week. I've booked every single guest. No one can do it better than me. If you go through a PR person or whatever, 10 times, well, not, like 5 times out of 10, they're going to ask you a zillion questions and probably say no. I go directly to the person. I used to work at Bloomberg News, and CNBC, I'm really good researcher and I know how to get a hold of people. So I am able, and sometimes it takes an hour and sometimes it could take 2 months,
Yeah, I
but
was
I find the person that I want, I get a hold of them directly. I explain what the show is. And I think 9 out of 10 times they always say yes, always.
how long have you had your podcast? Has it been a year, 2 years?
One year this week.
Wow. Wow, congrats. Doesn't it feel
Yeah.
good to have done it on your own?
I feel so good about it. I mean, the fact that it's like monetized, I have advertisers. I'm like so shocked. I get so excited when anyone calls and says they want to advertise in my podcast. I'm like, oh my God, thank you. I get so excited when I get a DM or an email from someone, kind of begging to be on my show. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I love, or, I was shopping the other day and I got a DM, like I got a ding on my phone. I got a DM and it was like, hi, I felt so embarrassed to come say hello to you, but I saw you shopping at this store. I was just in there. I love you. And I thought they were going to say they knew me for the past. I listen to your podcast all the time. I think it's great. That was like the biggest compliment. I love that. So I love doing it. It's something I take very seriously. It is how I make a living right now. It is my job. I have 2 shows a week. Sometimes I film 4 times a week because I like to have like a month and a half in the can.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and then if I want to do what I call an emergency episode that'll come out, in a timely fashion because there's something in the news, I'll do that. But I like it. It's always a hustle, right? You're always reading the news and the paper and watching documentaries and seeing who you might think is interesting. And it's such a great way to meet people. If I want to call a celebrity
Anyone.
or I watch a documentary on Netflix and I'm obsessed with it, I can find a way to get that person and ask them to come on and have a reason to speak to them. So I love it.
And you should give yourself a lot of credit. It's a lot more work than what people think, and it's very hard to build a following and to get to the point that you are monetizing is huge. I mean, there are people I know that have been podcasting for years and haven't figured out, how to at least even begin the process of monetization and
Oh,
start
wow.
making something for your time. So you should give yourself a lot of credit. It's very hard to do,
Thank you.
especially in just a year.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as I said, I take it really seriously. I love it. I think that anyone who wants to do a podcast should do it, but they have to really take it seriously and be,
Yeah.
consistent with it. And then the key is to find a niche. Like anyone could talk about pop culture or, things going on in the news every day, but they have to have something that makes them a little bit, different or have a little bit of a different spin on it. But I think it's a great platform for people that want to be heard.
It is. Well, and I always say it's the future because younger people are not watching traditional TV. They're not. They're never going to watch MSNBC anymore. They're not watching morning shows. They're not watching talk shows. Like their new talk shows are on YouTube. They're Mr. Beast. They're TikTok. And even if TikTok goes away, some new platform will come up. They're
Yeah.
Twitch. They're not. People are not. Television is not gaining new followers.
Mhm.
It's trying to hold on to what they have left. So
Yes.
this is the new way. And unfortunately, people don't trust the media anymore. I mean, you've been through the ringer. Once they do a narrative, they're not going to like correct the story. And even if they correct the story, it's never going to get the looks that it got when they painted you as something else.
Yeah. Once it's
So
already out there,
yeah,
whether it's true or not, it's fucked because people have thought that, right?
yeah.
So yeah, case in point I mean, I hate to even bring this up because I don't know if your listeners follow it, but did you watch on Netflix American Nightmare?
Yes. Yeah. Great
So that is case
example.
in point to me about how the media puts something out in a narrative. And then even if later they're like, oops, sorry, that didn't happen. She was really kidnapped and there is a rapist on the loose. No one remembers that story. When I saw the streaming commercial or whatever for American Nightmare, in the back of my head, I was like, oh, that's about the couple that lied about getting kidnapped and drugged. That's what
Right.
I thought. Well, I didn't know it had come out years later that was not true, that they didn't lie and that the police screwed it up. So none of that was told until you really saw the Netflix documentary. So I think it's terrible when something comes out. The only thing about having these, people doing their own opinion and like journalism from their homes is that like I went to school for journalism.
Mm.
You do learn some fundamentals that people forget. Like you really, I mean, when we watch Fox and CNN, it's no longer fact-based because you do see a slant, you do see an
Right.
opinion.
It's an opinion, but
But
yeah.
yeah, so when I worked at Bloomberg, if you put your opinion in any piece, you would lose your job. I mean, that just you were a journalist. You could not do that. You had to put out fact. You had to ask questions of both sides. You had to be straight down the line and fair so that the viewer or the listener could make an educated decision. You don't really hear that anymore. So I also try to do that in my interviews, meaning like there might be people that hate Rudy Giuliani. There might be people that still are angry with Kathy Griffin or whoever it is that,
Right.
Perez Hilton that I had on might think, oh God, this guy's, one thing or the other. But if I let them talk about what happened. I ask them questions that people that would be critical of them would ask. But then I say, well, what's your side of it? And why did you do this? And what do you think the real truth is? I don't see that in a lot of media. And you do have a lot of people just getting behind a mic saying, this is what happened and this person's horrible and this is why you should think this. And I don't really agree with that because I think that not every story is so cut and dry. And human nature makes people do things for a reason or another. And you should get to the bottom of why they do it.
Well, even I mean, I worked in a newsroom for 13 years with Fox 5 DC, and you always had to have two sources that would go on record. Like rarely, I mean, if it was like a sexual assault case, they could be anonymous, but I mean, you had to have two people who were willing to say that story was correct, and you had to have their name and contact information before you could pitch that show or that, story on
Okay.
air
Yeah.
or bring them on. I mean, you don't now, how many articles do you read all the time? It's like anonymous, the person. I mean, again, it could be a real person, but it's
Yeah.
different than journalism 25, 30 years ago when you had to get actual, people, their contacts, save. You had to be able to back that up with real facts. And now,
Yeah.
and to your point, anybody can start a show, anyone can start a narrative. And that is the good
Mm.
and bad, right? Of where we're headed with media. Hard to know what the
Yeah.
truth is. It's hard to know.
Hard to know. True.
One more, I want to talk pop culture topics, but before that, I love the niche of your show of taking people who are misunderstood and allowing them to tell the story that we never heard. Has there been a theme that's emerged when you've talked to people like Kato Kalin and Greg Louganis and Kathy Griffin and even yourself? Like what, I mean, do you become more resilient? Do you need more therapy? I don't know. Like what have you discovered about that
Well,
theme?
I think the thread through all of these people you're mentioning and myself is that people will talk about those stories with such a level of authority, right? Like they know the facts, or they'll be like, okay, whatever, like, big deal, Kathy, you got in trouble, and it's not that big of a deal. Well, it is that big of a deal. She tried to kill herself after. I don't know how many people know that she really tried to take her life. It was a terrible place to be in when the whole world turns on you and your credibility up to that point is ruined. With Cato, same thing. He's never really been able. I love Cato. His personality is astounding. He looks great. He's such a good guy. He should be hosting a show somewhere. And he should have been someone. And I think what people, the resounding thing that I find from interviewing these people, from being misunderstood in a position like that in a scandal or something, is that it's taken away from your quality of life for
Mm,
much longer than the impact on others was. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the impact it has on you can be really detrimental for the rest of your life. And just one blip in time, it's not a 15 minutes of fame or hatred. It's like a lifetime of it. And people remember you for that. And it's really, it stunts your life. It's like it interrupts your life forever. And people can move on and, you can do other things and have a comeback or whatever, but people always still remember it. And it's always, on that scoreboard of yours. So that's a very terrible thing. And I don't think people really realize how hard that is, to your mental health, to your physical health, to your friendships. It's much harder than people know.
okay, having lived it and then interviewing these guests, because somebody listening to your show or my show, they'll probably find themselves in a scandal. They'll be that person who never anticipated they find themselves in a scandal. What's the one piece of advice you would give someone if they ever ended up in a situation publicly like what happened to you or Kathy?
I would say call me.
Yeah, I was
Because
gonna
I
say
can
you should.
help you get through it.
Yes.
Um, I would say, there are people that will, many friends and family members that will fall off. They'll say, you're a bad luck. I don't want to be associated with you. And that's hurtful. There will be people that come out of the woodwork from your past or friends of yours who will come back into your life because they want to be surrounded by this chaos and they thrive on that and they want to feel like they're part of the story. Those are also terrible people to be around. I would say don't isolate yourself, but surround yourself with the people that get it, because very few people get what that's like to be the topic of the world's conversation. So you should reach out to someone like me, someone like Kathy, someone who's been in a scandal so that we can, because we're immediately friends with you because we know what you're going through and very few people are.
Hmm.
And I think it's important to uh really watch what you say and watch who your friends are. And just that's kind of the time where you're like, all right, I'm shaking this up and I'm starting all over again. Whether it's, career, life, some girls I've seen love the 15 minutes of fame and do every press show they can and get something out of it. But that also will turn on you later. So
Hmm.
just be
That's interesting.
careful.
Because I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you, like, I guess in hindsight, would you have leaned in more to the narrative, or do you feel like you just wrote it out like the best way you could, and the outcome would have been challenging
Well, my
regardless?
narrative was written for me because I had an NDA and I couldn't speak. So,
Oh,
people made up what they wanted to because I couldn't challenge what they were
mm,
writing. But um, for someone like Sydney Leathers, you don't remember her name probably, but she is the girl who was the final, nail in the coffin for Anthony Weiner's candidacy to be mayor or whatever at the time. He already had been found out a year before of sending pictures of his penis to young girls. And then later on, he did it again while they were filming a documentary about him called Weiner. And
yeah.
to this girl, and I had her on my show during the 1 year, or sorry, the 10-year anniversary. Was it 10 years of the scandal? Anthony Weiner was a very good politician, by the way, very good at what he did, but terrible husband, obviously. Had some issues, and what was weird to me is she never even met him. To this day, has never met him. She's just somebody who sexted with him, and he sent her pictures, and it ruined his life, but it ruined hers because then she
Yeah.
was offered only job. She had a real job. Forget what she did. She wasn't a lawyer, but maybe worked in a law office. She got fired. And then after that, she sold, she went whatever the equivalent is at the time of OnlyFans. I think she did a porn. She was paid to do a porn.
Wow.
She did some surgery on her labia and sold it. Don't ask. But it's like you have to when you say lean in,
Okay.
you can
Wow.
only lean into what people are making you into. So if you're the mistress, they put you in a sexual connotation that is dirtier than just being a woman, right? So, a porn star, something having to do with your vagina and reconstructing it. This is not a woman who even had sex with him. So I just thought that was very, very interesting. And to be asked if you want to lean into it, no, because people, did not see me as a person. They saw me as a villain, which I am not.
Oh my God, what a fantastic point. People need to call you in if they get stuck in any headline, 100%, because you're so right. And for women, unfortunately, if you're involved in any scandal with a man or another woman, it is like immediately porn. It's like
Yeah.
immediately just go do OnlyFans. Like you can, I mean, or if you've had some sort of reputation or canceled, that's like what people immediately go to. And you're right. Like you don't need to do that. That isn't
Or the other
necessary.
thing is that they feel so much shame and like they're so upset that the country is mad at them. So they go to a sex rehab or, a clinic of some sort to make it look better. And, I just think all those crisis management things are a bunch of bullshit. And I have a lot of, advice for people like that. So,
Do you do like a consulting for PR crisis management, or you do
I
it
I
formally?
I don't but I should. I mean, listen, I've had so many people who have been through things like that DM me, write me, have conversations with me. I should have started a business doing that because I could have made a lot of money.
Well, and I have to imagine for you, I mean, God, every porn place must have you must have been reached out to by everyone that has wanted to sexualize you and do porn. How have you had the strength to say no? Because I think you just nailed it with that woman. Like, what a unfortunate, I don't know, maybe she doesn't
Well,
see it as
I
unfortunate.
wasn't allowed to do any of that stuff. I wasn't allowed to be in the spotlight for any of that because of my NDA. But I will say later on in my life, as you know, that stigma really didn't go away and it was hard for me to get a job. I thought about doing it. I would love to do OnlyFans. If I could have that as a side hustle. Listen, I'm 49. No one wants to see me on OnlyFans, but I
Yes,
would do
me
it in a
too.
second.
You're so hot. Are
I
you
have,
kidding?
wait,
It's
I
gorgeous.
I can't lift my foot up, but I have
Hot feet.
the best. I have the best feet. Okay. My mom, when she was in college, was a foot model. And I think that for people with a foot fetish, my feet would be pretty fucking amazing. So and doesn't Larsa have a OnlyFans for her feet?
Probably. And you're probably on Celeb Wiki Feet. Do you know that website?
No, I
What?
should
Oh,
be.
oh my God. When we get, I'm on there. I'm on there with like a 4 8 star rating. So I guarantee you're on there with a 10 star rating. Celeb Wiki Feet is for people from A list to Z list, anywhere in between that have some sort of public persona. And you are on Celeb Wiki Feet and people rate and find photos of your feet.
Oh
Yes, I
my
guarantee
God.
you're on. I didn't
I
even
want to,
know.
I think I might need to send them a photo of my just to make sure it's a good photo, but they're really good. So listen, I'm not going to scoff at OnlyFans, but I was offered something with OnlyFans with like a manager where they took 30%, they told you what to do and how to pose and they posted everything. I said no at the time because I was really worried about I was trying to rebuild my reputation and doing that would have been, counterintuitive to that whole thing. Now I would do it in a second. Like I'm okay, let's put it out there. Whoever wants to manage my OnlyFans account,
Really?
DM me because I would be happy to. I'm not going to like do something dirty on it, maybe. Well, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see how much money I'll get. But
Oh, David Yontip and I will manage you. Are you kidding? We know all
okay,
the tips and tricks, and Denise Richards is making a fortune.
that's
I
what I'm
mean,
saying. Why not? Like
but
we
wait
should
a
all
minute. Did your NDA prevented you from doing any like that extended to any sort of like sex work? They tried to control that too?
can't really get into it.
Oh, okay. All right.
But okay, so the other thing that I was on a radio show, I don't know,
Yeah, you
12
can
years ago maybe, and the guy who owned in Reno, remember there was like a place where uh what's
Bunny
his name?
Ranch. Yes, and it
Yeah.
was the Bunny Ranch, and oh my God, he just
What's the
died a
guy's
couple of years
name?
ago. Oh God, why can't we remember? And
Anyway,
Lamar Odom
he
overdosed
called
there.
into the show
Yeah.
and he said, okay, I want to offer if Rachel will come for 24 hours, I will pay her $1 million.
Dennis Hoff, by the way. Dennis
Okay.
Hoff. Okay, he wanted you to come there for 20 minutes and he was going to offer you $1 million.
Yes. Yep. I said no, obviously.
Ah,
Because I mean, can you imagine like you have to have sex with people one after the other there, right? Like I don't really know what that was all about, but it scared me. So I said no. But
oh,
$1 million for 24 hours of work is not too bad.
amazing. All right,
Yeah.
so you're not anti sex work. It's just got to be strategic based
Well,
on a level.
Is OnlyFans considered sex work now?
I mean, yes and no. Some people, that's what they use it for. But now OnlyFans TV has like comedians. They did a deal with Whitney Cummings. They have like food shows on there. I mean,
Okay.
they're
So I
basically,
wouldn't say I'm pro sex work. I mean, listen, anyone that wants to do sex work, it's none of my business. So good for you. But I'm not going to do sex work because I don't need a bunch of people watching me have sex. Like I am too much of a prude. But I am all for OnlyFans if we could do it in a fun way. That's all. And by the way, I don't think you have to get completely naked to be sexy. I think leaving something to the imagination is much more sexy, in my
I
opinion.
couldn't agree more. And a
Yeah.
lot of OnlyFans is just even chatting with people who are lonely. Like if you can
Yeah.
set up like chat base, they will pay to talk to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I have that on my Cameo and people pay, I don't remember what it is, 4 or 5, $6, whatever it is for
Yeah.
per DM back and forth. And, I kind of hate making those Cameo videos. I feel so stupid doing them. But like the back and forth conversations, you can make a lot of money going back and forth with these people. So listen, I get it. If
Yeah.
I'm sitting there watching TV and doing nothing, laying by the pool and someone wants to chat with me and I'm getting $5 every time a message goes back and forth, that can really add up. Pays for your
Yeah.
drinks, pays for your drinks and your lunch while you're at the pool.
Sitting there poolside.
Yeah,
You also I love you keep up on pop culture, you love following pop culture, you just had
I do.
MJ from Shaw's on, and you have s pretty strong feelings too on the reality reckoning, on Bethany's reality reckoning. Like, what's your take?
Well, I've had a lot of people on to talk about it. It's not that I have a strong feel. I think everyone's experience is different. I do feel that if you're going to agree to be on a show, that you should have some conviction of who you are. I mean, if someone's like, I don't believe that anyone's like, you need to drink, even if you're sober and act like a fucking idiot. And if you don't, we're going to edit you to look like that. That doesn't happen. I've been on a couple reality shows. One that was not fake at all. Celebrity Rehab is not fake. They could not have edited anything to look like it didn't happen. And when I watched it back, everything that happened, like obviously they edited stuff out, but they cannot edit someone to make them look like they're doing something or reacting to something. I guess they could, but they didn't. Then I was on Millionaire Matchmaker. That is a fake show. I had a conversation with the casting director, telling them what I wanted in a man, going into it thinking I could really meet someone. They did it a little different with me because I was, in their celebrity version or whatever. So I was behind a glass window or whatever, two-sided window. And Patty was talking in my ear and she would meet the people. She would meet the men four at a time in a lineup. I would watch what she was having. I would say questions into her ear. She would ask them. We would go back and forth and then we move on to the next one. That was staged because number one, I gave them my type or what I was interested in. They didn't find one of those people. I wouldn't have dated anyone on that show. They kind of forced me to go with this one guy that I thought it was so irritating, bless his heart. And and then during the whole date, oh my God, it was so painful. It was like acting, and I'm not an actress. So that was terrible. And they had to keep being like, cut, Rachel, you gotta talk, you gotta be a little more flirtatious. And then on the one-on-ones or whatever, where you're just talking to the camera, I'd be like, I hate him. He's so annoying. Cut, Rachel, we're trying to edit you to make you look friendly and nice. Act like you're so into him. I'm like, oh my God. So
Yeah, so it was so staged the
so
entire time.
staged.
Like they knew what they want. They wanted you to be disinterested, not like any of the guys. Yeah, the guys not to be. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand.
and listen, they were right about she was right about me. She called me a shredder. I am a shredder. I make it very hard for people for men. I really do. It's a flaw of mine. And I agreed with her version of me. So that was fine. But I wish they had cast a little better so I could have maybe been into the guy. I
Yeah.
remember they asked me to kiss him when we walked out of a restaurant. And I said to the producer, "You have one shot. I will give you one kiss, but if you don't get it, we're not doing another take." I mean, we walk out of out of the restaurant, and by the way, there's all these real people there. Like, it's a real restaurant, really happening. We're walking out. There's cameras outside already ready to go. There's cameras from the side, and then there's cameras following us. So people are like stepping to the side. We walk outside, and I don't think he knew that we were going to kiss. So he's saying something dumb, like we're standing there. We walk out the door, and we're waiting for the car. And he says, "Well, I had a really lovely time and it's so great to have met you. And I really want to see you again." And in my head, I'm like, shut the hell up. So I just grab him and I kiss him to shut him up. And it's so funny because when it plays back, it looks like I don't think you hear what we're talking about. So it looks like we're talking. And then it looks like I grab him. And I think they do it in like slow motion a little bit. And I grab him and I kiss him, and the music swells and the sunset's happening behind us. And it looks so romantic. And meanwhile, my inner monologue was like, oh my God, get me out of here. And as soon as that kiss ended, I walked right down the stairs. I got into a car and I went to the airport. Didn't even say goodbye. It was terrible. So, that was that.
Okay,
But
so
so to
yeah.
answer to your point, so a lot of it is staged, but there is no way that I would have gone on the Housewives of New York or whatever or any of these shows and been like, acted like a fool and then later on said, "Well, I didn't act like that. That wasn't me," or "You made me do that." I really would find that hard to do because you sign up for this stuff, and so I agree with MJ and what she said on my show that she doesn't, there is a culpability of like, you're part of it. You know what you're doing because you're trying to get airtime too, or whatever it is for you. So, um, but listen, there are cases and there are some people who felt slighted for whatever reason and felt abused. They should never feel like they're in a position to lose their job because they're not being dramatic enough or they don't drink or whatever their issues are. But again, I just want to remind people of two things. you can't have a lawsuit happen unless you have facts. I mean, it would be very hard to get that ball rolling unless you found a lawyer who didn't know what they're doing, but or just wanted the press. Mark Garagos, who has also been on my show, is famous for representing criminals like Scott Peterson, the Menendez brothers. He's represented Michael Jackson. He's now representing, I think, Leah, Brandy, some of these people from Bethany from Reality Reckoning. I don't know that an actual lawsuit has been filed about that, right? It was just like a couple documents or
Brandy hasn't. I think Carolyn Amanzo and Leah McSweeney are the only two that actually have filed lawsuits.
okay. Well, Mark is not going to file anything unless he has some real proof behind him. Maybe
Yeah.
he'll do a cease and desist. Maybe he'll do a letter to start a conversation going. I don't know who Leah's attorney is, but
Somebody
hopefully,
in New York, not Garagos, somebody else.
hopefully they're good and they're not just doing it for press, But anyways, I think everyone forgets that there's more to it than what's in the press. So we don't know everything.
Yeah.
But these are people out of work, right? So they want to figure out a way to make a living also.
Yeah.
And if their reputation was so damaged from being on the show, I guess maybe this is their only path out of it. I'm not really sure. Again, I hate to comment without really knowing
Well,
them.
no, I mean, I think we're all in the same boat. Like the idea of a reality union is great. I just think not a lot of people, at least from what I've seen, I don't believe Bethany is sincere that she wants that for all reality stars. I think it's very personal specifically against Bravo. I don't think she gives a shit about people on TLC or VH1 or MTV or
Well, I was
because if
always
she
curious.
did, she'd be
Bravo gave her her start. Why is she so angry with Bravo?
I think that's a great question. I think that I mean, they've offered to bring her back, but she wants an extreme amount of money that they're not going to give her. Maybe she's mad because she feels like she's worth that number and they won't do it. She used to be very close with Andy. They were besties. So did they have a falling out? Did something happen there? And then now it's become personal? I mean, great question. She's tried to leave that franchise and do something different. She tried to have her own talk show. She tried to have a show with Kevin O'Leary from MSNBC that only lasted a season. The talk show lasted maybe 2. Then it was canceled. So she's never been able to have TV success outside of Bravo. I don't know if that is part of the dislike, but
I think her personality is she rubs people the wrong way. I mean, listen, I think she's a very smart woman. I think a lot of what she says is probably correct in how she feels, but the way she rubs people, I think is wrong.
Yeah.
And so to have her talk show, I don't know that she was so nice to anybody. I don't know that she came from a place of being humble and happy to be where she was. And, when you see Kelly Clarkson, she's so humble. When you see Drew is one of the most famous people. She's been famous since she was a kid from being on ET. And some people come on her show and she acts like she's fangirling. Like when you're humble like that, I think gets you a lot further than being a know-it-all and really aggressive kind of.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that is so true. Do you watch what TV are you watching? Like what are some of your favorite shows to watch?
I watch a lot of streaming stuff. So in terms of TV though, I mean, I watch The Housewives of Beverly Hills. I watch The Housewives of Miami. I never watched Miami before, but now that I live in Florida, I watch Miami. I got really into Salt Lake this last season. I didn't ever watch that before. I did not watch The Housewives of New York this past season. Are they still in season 1? Did they finish season 1? They haven't started season 2?
Well, we're waiting to hear when season 2 is going to be back because season 1 ended quite a while ago. So we're like, well, where's the announcement? Because it seemed as though it went well, at least from what Bravo put out. But did it go that well? Why haven't we heard it should be launching, I would think.
So they haven't started filming, is what you're saying.
So David Yontif and I get messages from people who say they're a part of the production, and yes, it's filming, but there hasn't been a lot of leaks. It doesn't. Some people say yes, but has there been any official announcement? No.
Okay, so I don't know anything. To me, that group it just wasn't my group of tea, my cup of tea, whatever.
Yeah.
And let's see, I'm trying to think what else. Listen, I'm somebody who watches a lot of like Dateline and stuff like that. So those are the kind of shows I like. I'm a news junkie, so I like news. But, I watch so much stuff on streaming. Like this week, I don't know when you're airing this, but Palm Royale just came out about what's going on. It's on Apple TV. It's so good. You guys have to put it on. It's about what's going on in Palm Beach in the 60s, but it's like the original version of the Housewives. Like it's all these different women that are trying to be at the top and they want their name in the shiny sheet, which is like Palm Beach. It's still around today, but their version of Page Six,
Yep.
and what they, how they're all kind of miserable in their own way, but they're doing all this volunteering and this, that, and the other thing, competing with each other, competing with money and husbands and this, that, and the other thing. It's really good. So you guys should watch that.
Okay, I'm with you. I like all the documentary things. We just watched the Patriots Dynasty documentary on Apple. Then on HBO, did you watch Quiet on Set about all the Nickelodeon kids? Did you
I
watch that?
I haven't, I don't, it's not my favorite topic to sort of watch stuff about like sexual abuse or any sort of
Very
abuse. So
dark.
I have not seen it yet, but I probably should. The Dynasty. So I had that show, that Apple TV show is based on a book called The Dynasty, which is right behind me. I have it over here. I don't know if you could see it. Um,
Okay.
I've read the book and I had the author of the book on my show. His name is Jeff Benedict. The book is so good. I'm not like a football fan like that. I'm not a Patriots fan. It's a phenomenal book. And I had him on the week that it started airing the show. He is also the author of Tiger, the book that came out where the opening to the entire book is about me. So, and his book Tiger came out as the HBO documentary Tiger. So he's a phenomenal writer. Everyone should get his book, especially if you're a sports fan, but it's like a love story. It's like a story about people and teammates and camaraderie. And as a girl who does not, follow the Patriots, I was crying reading it. It was so good. So, anyways, people should get that book.
Was the book that he did about Tiger, was that the documentary that you were a part of, or
Yes.
was it
Yes.
ESPN? Okay. So that was for HBO. They did one,
Yes.
right? A multi-part
Correct.
series. Okay, yeah. Oh my, and you must have met him before. He probably interviewed you for the book and
I said no. That's what was funny
really?
about it. I said no forever. And then the book came out. I read I'm in the first two,
Oh.
3 pages, and I couldn't believe that he got the facts correct. So then I still had his number on my phone because he had called me for years. And I called him. I was in the Dominican Republic. We talk about this on my show because I'm like, do you remember how we met? When I came back from the Dominican Republic, he and I met. His daughter was there. We met at a hotel so that we could talk like quietly. And I met his daughter. And that was the night that Stormy Daniels was on 60 Minutes for the first time. We watched that together. And it was like incredibly interesting to meet him. And then we've been friends ever since. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's a
good
good
time.
journalist
And
because
he's the one that convinced me to do the HBO documentary.
you were really good in that.
Thank you.
That was very eye-opening, very thorough, about that whole situation and Tiger Woods in general.
It's a fantastic documentary.
That was great. I was going to ask you about one other question about other documentaries and authors. Okay, so you haven't watched the Patriots Dynasty one yet. Oh, you know who I was thinking would be an amazing guest since you do these terrific misunderstood. Do you know who Manti Te'o is
That
in the home?
he's my bucket list guy
Yes.
of who I want. So it's funny
Oh,
with
he's hot.
Manti, I'm friends with his wife on Instagram, but I don't feel comfortable asking her. His PR contacts never respond to an email, and he doesn't respond to DMs. He hasn't opened mine. So I don't know how to get a hold of him. So if anyone's listening to this and has some sort of connection with Manti Te'o, please DM me and send me the connection or connect us because he is the quintessential person for my show. I saw his documentary on Untold or whatever it was.
Yes, that was such a good documentary.
Everyone owes him an apology. I want to give him a hug. I think he's phenomenal. So he would be a great guest. Yes.
He's like the American Nightmare couple. I mean, I
Yes.
just for years thought, he was a part of that catfishing incident and faked the girlfriend and all these things. And then, of course, once you watch that documentary, you see they even have the person that's the catfisher.
I
Like,
know. It's terrible.
it's
And he lost his
wild.
whole career and his credibility for his terrible story.
Isn't that unfucking believable? It really, yeah, that is wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wild. Um,
Speaking of unfucking believable, there's a documentary. I mean, it's not documentary. It's made for TV, I guess, on Netflix called Unbelievable, based on a true story. That was so good. A young girl claims, I think she's staying with foster parents, and she was raped. and she goes in and the police kind of don't believe her. So they blame her. She gets kicked out of her living situation. All this stuff happens. So she finally says, yeah, it didn't happen because she doesn't want the attention. She doesn't want people to start to brand her as a liar. She's like, forget it didn't happen. And it takes a cop, very similar to the American Nightmare story, in another neighboring town to see that there's a man that's doing the same thing, raping young women, doing the same thing, tying them up in the same way and leaving them in different areas, but going to different towns so he's never found. And it was like a serial rapist. And later on, she's, acquitted of all this stuff and people realize she wasn't lying, but it's called Unbelievable because it's such an unbelievable story. That also is on Netflix. So good.
Okay, you have to come back because I know there'll be more topics and you'll have other amazing guests. But I'm wondering where you have this amazing niche of people that have been misunderstood for years. Who are who are one or two of your dream guests that you would love to have on?
So beyond Manti Te'o, because he really is one,
Yeah.
I really would love to have Conrad Murray on. He is the doctor that was accused of killing Michael Jackson. I've actually spoken to his people, but they want $50,000 for it, which of course I'm not going to pay. And I keep trying to explain to them if he wants to really tell his story and get some credibility for who he is, because he wants to practice again in the United States, he should tell his story and come out with it.
Okay,
So
I got 10,000 questions for you on this. Wait, okay. So are you saying do you feel like there's a part of his story that was misunderstood? You think he didn't like,
I do think his story is misunderstood. Yes.
mhm.
I'm not saying he's innocent, but I do think that there's parts of the story that we don't understand. Listen, imagine being, and this is a question I have, right? Imagine being a doctor. You are a guy who is just a doctor, right? Your career is you are working in a hospital, whatever it is. I want to know how he met Michael, how that happened. But when a huge star, the biggest star in the world, Michael Jackson says, quit what you're doing. I will pay you $150,000 a month. This is money that this man has never seen before in his life. He's from Trinidad, whatever. Um, I will pay you this monthly to be my personal doctor. Who's going to say no to that? Not many people. So I want to know what that was like. And then the responsibility of looking over this man who was dealing with so much going on. He's being accused of child molestation and whatever, all that crazy shit that was going on. He has 2 kids at home. He's touring for the biggest show of his life. And he has a sleeping problem. And he says that he left the room, called his girlfriend, finally, because Michael finally fell asleep. But that night, some different things happened. Like he said that the medicine wasn't working. The Valium, the propofol, all that stuff had not worked in small doses. And he believes, I I think that it's not entirely his fault because he thinks when he left the room, Michael, who, it's like, anyways, Michael upped the dose on his own and gave him too much, but he didn't know this. Listen, I had a baby. I've been in a hospital from 24 hours of listening, of being hooked up to stuff. I think I could do my own propofol. I mean, I love propofol. You get it when you go under for for plastic surgery.
It's
We've had a million
amazing, yeah.
times.
Well, the 4 or 5
It is the
seconds,
best.
it's amazing, like, when you know it's taking effect, it's a good
Yeah,
feeling.
that feeling,
Right.
you're like, count back from 10. I love that. You get to like 9 and then you're done. And then you wake up and you've got these gorgeous boobs. So,
Okay, that's the
I'm
secret.
not a fan of propofol, but obviously it could kill people. So, um, I get it. So I want to hear him talk about that night. I want to ask him all the questions I have. I want to see how it's affected his life. What happened in prison? And then also, it's interesting because people think Michael, at the time, Michael was such a hero, right? People now have a lot of questions about Michael. There's a lot of people that when the radio station comes on and Michael Jackson plays, they will turn it off. They have some very adverse feelings towards Michael. Now, I grew up in the 80s. It was Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, Wham, and Madonna. Those were our people that we listened to. Michael is like in my bones. I love his music. Anytime his music plays, I love it. It doesn't make me overlook what happened, but I will tell you, and someone who's a news junkie, I can't watch those documentaries.
I
It's
was gonna
almost
say,
like
you
my
wanna
brain
tell
doesn't want to hear it
Yeah,
because I'm such a fan. And that's obviously the problem that these kids have had because Michael is revered in such a way that people don't believe them or whatever. So I get the scrutiny that they've gone under and I feel terrible for them. But completely separate from that, Michael was the king of pop. He was the best artist and he went through so much shit. And a guy who felt like he was so close with Michael, he knew him personally, you know what his demons were. I want to hear from him.
Oh, that would be an epic one. An
Yeah.
epic one. Okay, I don't know. Might be worth the 50 grand. I think I might fork that over. I think I might fork that over.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. Rachel, you could tell we love you.
Thank you.
Misunderstood is the podcast put out twice weekly. You can find it Apple, Spotify, everywhere you get your podcasts. What a career, what a life. Are you gonna write your own book or do your own documentary on yourself? You are a good journalist. You ought to be.
Thank you. I am working currently on my memoir. Yes.
Ooh, okay. Very good. Very good. All right. Well, next time we're in Florida, we have to get together with Harry Dubin. I need to meet this man with Harry.
I would love that. That would be so fun.
You
Open
and David
invite.
Yontif and Harry Dubin and myself.
That would be fun. I've taken David Yontif out with me and Harry before.
Oh, I feel like I've seen the pictures or something.
Yeah.
Okay, Rachel, love you. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much. Love you.